What we saw over the weekend was that the Iranian Council of Experts decided to move forward and pick their new supreme leader. The supreme leader is someone that was talked about. This was the son of the now deceased Ayatollah, and we know his name is Mojtaba Khamenei. He's 56 years old, the son of Ali Khamenei, and was very close to the IRGC. What does this tell us? It tells us that the Iranians are doubling down, that they are trying to show the world that they are not planning on going anywhere. Meanwhile, the U.S. stepped up the bombings in what we saw over the weekend, hitting places like oil refineries and making it a lot more painful on the Iranian regime as they try to hang on. But as the skies over Iran were lit up with the explosions at these oil refineries, both putting a strain on the economic viability of the regime, as well as their own internal energy viability, you see that the hardliners within Iran are not showing any sign of backing down. Jordan is joining me remotely today. But Jordan, what we see from this is that the mullahs and those within Iran are trying to signal some sort of strength in the midst of what has been a very impressive U.S. and Israeli operation thus far.
Well, I think what they're trying to put on display is that they have the Guardian Council of 88 and that they were able to get together, put a new leader in power who oversees and acts also as commander-in-chief of the Iranian armed forces, and then, of course, works with, as he has very closely, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and some of these militias as well. So I think it's more of a show than it is an actual sign of strength. Remember, President Trump has still told the Iranian people to stay indoors. He hasn't yet said this is the moment to go outside and seize the government because of the amount of firepower the U.S. is unleashing on this radical, dangerous regime to the entire world, but especially to our ally Israel. And ultimately, their number one target is the United States of America, your children, your grandchildren. That's who they really want to annihilate. And so I think, Will, it was a show of stability. But when you look at the images coming out of Iran and how the lack of their ability to respond now, it does appear that we control the air. I think that tells everything.
What it also tells us, Jordan, is how closely this individual is tied to the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is really the unit and secondary military. There's two real militaries in Iran. There's the normal army, and then there is the IRGC. The IRGC is really tasked with protecting the Islamic Republic in ideology, as well as they have their hands in almost all of the economic affairs of the Islamic Republic. It's very powerful, very wealthy, but they also are the main exporter of terror. They are the ones that control the proxy groups, whether it be Hezbollah in Lebanon. You saw an IRGC commander that was taken out over the weekend in Beirut by the Israelis. You also have to think about the Houthis as well as Hamas and other subgroups, the militias that attack U.S. troops in Iraq. Those are also all controlled by the IRGC. In reality, this is not an unexpected move by a regime that is in the midst of conflict, that is trying to fight. But at the end of the day, not unexpected, but we also hear from the president, he doesn't expect this individual to last long because this isn't what the U.S. wants. I want to get your take on that, as well as the connection of this new supreme leader to the IRGC. Do you think he is going to have supreme authority, or do we really know that the IRGC itself is the only thing running the country at this point?
I think the IRGC, this was their move to try and hold on to some kind of power. So, yes, I think he's kind of Ayatollah in name only. They picked the son. They basically control him. As you said, the relationship there is so deep. He would not have become Ayatollah, but for the IRGC, he will not survive. And guess what? He might not survive anyways, but he will not survive at all in Iran without the backing of the IRGC. So they are the ones that will fight until the last man is standing, because their entire life, not just their military life, but their business. The reason why there's so many billionaires in the IRGC is because it's a terror business that exports that terror around the world for a price. They also run so much of Iran's industrial work and oil and covert operations with oil, trying to get that to China and other places that will still buy this illegal crude oil. So, Will, I think this is an attempt to hold on to power. But I don't think we can make a judgment call about what really happens next, because until kind of the U.S. and Israel air campaign is over or becomes target enough for people in the streets to reemerge from their homes and to try and take their government, as President Trump has talked about, we won't know how successful all of this is. We know it's been a success from the air in disrupting the entire Islamic Republic of Iran. Will the people be in charge of Iran ultimately a month from now? We don't know. Will there be a civil war? We don't know. Will there be more covert actions? We don't know. But we are certainly on a path to putting the Iranian people in a position so that they can attempt to take power by taking out so much of, you heard the president say it, Will, the Iranian, I think it was Navy, Air Force, military, and IRGC that is on the ground in Iran operating. We have air control. We even told the UK, back off. We don't want your help anymore because we've got this under control.
Well, and as you mentioned, the air superiority is such an important thing. Many of the so-called experts that have been talking about if the U.S. were to engage Iran in this way, they would never be able to get air superiority. And that was part of the reason why all of these experts said that there would be such a huge cost on American lives if we were to engage Iran. None of them believed what we have done now was even possible. So I think that is also where the president does get, he and his leadership team, the Joint Chiefs, the Secretary of War, and the military commanders that have been given the ability to fight this operation, this war, in a way that previous military leaders were not allowed to, it appears, because of how quickly and strongly the U.S. was able to accomplish that aspect of it. I think that gives the president some more leeway as far as achieving the stated goals of no nuclear Iran and allowing for an opportunity of the people to take their country back. But Jordan, even the what we saw over the weekend, we saw multiple flights in the U.S. diverted because of some ended up being miscommunications, but clearly the American aviation security, the airlines are on high alert. We saw Kansas City, the entire airport and parking garage evacuated. People were evacuated to the tarmac for 2 hours because of bomb threats. This is at the same time that ABC News is reporting that the U.S. intercepted an encrypted communication believed to have originated in Iran that may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper assets outside the country. That is a big concern here. We also saw what happened in New York over the weekend, where individuals that were protesting were attacked by counter-protesters that may have had ties to the Islamic State and were throwing incendiary devices in what could have been IEDs. Jordan, what are your thoughts on that as we look at the repercussions, something we've been concerned about, but it starts to seem that the government, as well as the companies that protect our skies and provide air travel, are also taking this very seriously right now?
Yeah, I mean, just by using certain words on a plane, you're going to be removed from the plane. The plane's going to be diverted. We know there are and have been Iranian sleeper cells inside the United States for decades. We know this was occurring under the Biden administration because the ACLJ uncovered it that 2 came across the border between Mexico. And they actually put their pictures up for a bit. And then they took them down. Minutes later, we were able to fight and got that information back up. So we know that terrorists used our porous southern border under Democrats to get across. The question, and I think, Will, you posed it best, are we going to see some lone wolves, or are these actually cells operating? Is there an operator left in place inside Iran But again, at this moment, I would tell people we have to remain vigilant. We are in a conflict with a country whose number one slogan is death to America. And I think President Trump, what he wants to leave to the American people is a different Iran, an Iran that's main slogan is not to kill all Americans and our allies and our military. They've got blood on their hands. They have the U.S. blood on their hands before. They have it now. And listen, anything we can do to free up the Iranian people inside the Islamic Republic to take back that government. I could imagine, Will, just a decade from now, an Iran that is a great partner with the United States of America. And think about how that would change the global political landscape if China and Russia have a U.S. ally in Iran instead of one of the few countries they have left to ally with right now in the Islamic Republic.
Well, and I think, Jordan, that's also why the president, when he says this Ayatollah will not last long, is such a real threat to someone like that is in that position, because we know that it cannot be that they replace the Ayatollah with the next supreme leader who still lives by the ideology death to America and death to Israel. And I think that we will find out how those operations take place in the very near future. That's got to be a lonely job, being the supreme leader of Iran right now, with how much of the leadership has already been taken out, but also a very frightening job knowing that you are the biggest target of the might of the American military and the Israeli military.